On the evening of 12th of November 1996, two aircraft collided in the skies over Delhi in such a horrifying manner that pieces of metal began raining down from the sky. Along with the wreckage, severed human body parts also fell to the ground. But what exactly happened that day? How did the two airplanes collide with each other? Let us uncover the full story of this tragic accident. On 12th of November 1996, a Saudi Arabian Airlines flight was standing ready for takeoff at Indira Gandhi International Airport, Delhi. There were 312 people on board, including 231 Indian nationals, most of whom were traveling to Saudi Arabia in search of employment. At approximately 6:30 p.m., the flight departed from the airport. The aircraft takes off. The people on board are completely unaware of the fact that a massive danger is rapidly approaching them, one that, within just a few minutes, will shatter this aircraft into pieces. In reality, a Kazakhstan Airlines chartered aircraft was flying to India from Kazakhstan. On board were several garment traders. There were 37 people on this flight, and it was scheduled to land at Indira Gandhi International Airport, Delhi. The truth is that in 1996, Indira Gandhi International Airport was not as modern as it is today. At that time, a large portion of Delhi Airport was reserved for the Indian Air Force. Because of this, the airport had only one runway available for both arrivals and departures. As a result, commercial flights had to use this single runway for both takeoffs and landings. On the evening of 12th of November 1996, one flight was scheduled to take off while another was approaching to land on the same runway. The Air Traffic Control, ATC, gave permission to the Saudi Arabian Airlines flight to take off. On that day, 42-year-old VK Duda was on duty at the Delhi Airport ATC, responsible for giving instructions to aircraft. In situations where two flights are approaching each other head-on while using the same airspace, it is mandatory to maintain a minimum vertical separation of 1,000 feet between them. Both aircraft must continue their flight while strictly maintaining this 1,000-foot separation. Both aircraft pass beneath each other. Shortly afterward, the Kazakhstan Airlines aircraft enters Delhi airspace. Now, VK Duda is guiding both planes simultaneously. After some time, the Saudi Arabian Airlines aircraft reaches an altitude of 10,000 feet, and the pilot requests clearance from VK Duda to climb to 14,000 feet. VK Duda grants permission, and the Saudi flight continues its climb, stabilizing at 14,000 feet. At that time, Delhi Airport had only one primary radar, which displayed aircraft on the screen merely as blinking dots, blips. This radar did not provide information about an aircraft's altitude or speed. Such details are obtained through secondary radar, but Delhi Airport did not have a secondary radar system at that time. Because of this limitation, Air Traffic Control, ATC, had to rely entirely on the information provided by the pilots regarding altitude and speed. VK Duda instructs the Kazakhstan Airlines pilot to descend to 15,000 feet and also informs him that a Saudi Arabian flight will be passing below, emphasizing that a vertical separation of 1,000 feet must be maintained. On his radar screen, VK Duda watches both flights drawing closer to each other. The two blinking dots slowly move nearer and nearer until suddenly they merge into one. At this point, the dots should have begun moving apart again, but immediately after merging, they vanish from the screen altogether. VK Duda realizes that something terrible has happened. Meanwhile, about 100 kilometers from Delhi, residents of Charkhi Dadri witness the sky suddenly light up with an intense flash, almost like lightning streaking across the sky, followed by the sound of a powerful explosion. Pieces of metal begin raining down from the sky. Both aircraft have collided with each other. Controller VK Duda repeatedly tries to establish contact with both flights, but there is no response from the other side. His concern deepens with every unanswered call. At the same time, a United States Air Force aircraft is passing through the area. The U.S. Air Force pilot informs ATC that he witnessed an extremely bright flash in the sky. Upon hearing this, Controller VK Duda's suspicion turns into certainty. Meanwhile, at the crash site, bodies and aircraft debris are scattered across an area spanning several kilometers. This incident becomes the first and only accident in the country's history in which two aircraft collided mid-air and were completely destroyed. Now the question was, where did things go wrong? How did the two aircraft collide? Was there an error on the part of controller VK Dutta, or did some technical malfunction cause the disaster? To find answers to these questions, a formal investigation into the incident was launched. The very next day after the accident, the black boxes of both aircraft were recovered and sent for decoding. However, decoding the data would take time. In the meantime, the investigation team continued examining other aspects of the crash. There were three primary possible causes being considered behind the incident. First, it was possible that one of the pilots had not followed ATC instructions. Second, there was a possibility that one of the aircraft's instruments was providing incorrect readings, leading to the collision. And third, it was suspected that VK Dutta himself might have issued an incorrect instruction from ATC. This mystery could only be solved once the data from both black boxes was fully decoded. A few days later, the black box data was finally revealed, and it uncovered the truth behind every question surrounding the incident. The reality was that VK Dutta was not at fault at all. He had given completely correct instructions to both flights. Initially, it was believed that the Saudi Arabian aircraft was maintaining an altitude of 14,000 feet, but the actual truth turned out to be very different. Instead of maintaining a vertical separation of 1,000 feet, the Kazakhstan aircraft was supposed to be at 15,000 feet, but it was actually flying at 14,000 feet. The collision between the two aircraft also occurred at 14,000 feet. This clearly indicated that the mistake had occurred on the Kazakhstan aircraft's side. But what caused the Kazakhstan plane to make such a serious error? In reality, this Kazakhstan aircraft was not a regular passenger plane. It was a cargo aircraft, primarily used to transport goods from one place to another. Flying this aircraft was itself a major challenge. While ordinary aircraft could be operated easily by one or two pilots, this aircraft required 5 crew members to fly it. Perfect coordination among all 5 was absolutely essential, because even a minor mistake by a single person could lead to a major disaster. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened in this case. The co-pilot on the Kazakhstan aircraft did not understand English. Because of this, he was unable to communicate directly with air traffic control. First, the ATC instructions had to be translated, and only then could a response be given. For this purpose, a separate translator was present on board, handling radio communications. However, the Kazakhstan crew faced another serious problem. They measured altitude and distance in meters, whereas ATC instructions were given in feet. This confusion between meters and feet proved to be catastrophic. As a result, they failed to follow ATC instructions correctly and mistakenly brought their aircraft down to 14,000 feet instead of 15,000 feet, where it collided head-on with the approaching Saudi Arabian Airlines aircraft. In this tragic accident, 329 people lost their lives, and many families were not even able to recover the bodies of their loved ones. The black box recording of the Saudi Arabian aircraft revealed that when the two planes collided, the crew immediately realized that there was no hope of survival. In the final moments before death, they recited Islamic prayers, after which the recording from the Saudi aircraft's black box came to an end. This incident remains one of the worst and most horrifying disasters in the country's history. After the tragedy, several major and essential reforms were introduced in the aviation industry to ensure that such a devastating accident would never happen again. The very first major change was that all aircraft were required to be equipped with separate corridors were created for arriving and departing flights. Secondly, secondary radar systems were installed so that the exact and complete position of aircraft flying in the sky could be accurately monitored. In addition to this, the government made it mandatory for every aircraft to be equipped with TCAS, the Traffic Collision Avoidance System. In fact, TCAS is an advanced safety system that issues an immediate warning whenever another aircraft is approaching head-on or coming dangerously close. In such situations, the system instantly sounds an alarm and provides clear instructions to the pilot, telling them exactly which direction to maneuver in order to avoid a collision in time. Similarly, to prevent communication errors, English was made the mandatory language for aviation communication. From that point onward, any pilot operating a flight was required to have proficiency in the English language.